My grandmother was murdered by my grandfather when my mom was a little girl. It was never proven, but we know it. The house she died in was also supposedly haunted, and the couple that lived there after, the husband ended up chopping the wife in pieces. When my mother was 11, she was at home with my nurse grandmother and abusive grandfather. My mom had a pretty tough childhood and still wet the bed every night. She had 2 older siblings, but they were all moved out and stuff. Anyway, my grandmother was a nurse, as I said before. She gave herself a vitamin shot every day. She just administered it to herself, no big deal. She had been doing this as long as my mother can remember. Well, on this particular night, there was a lot of fighting, threats, crying, physical violence in the whole neighborhood. As my mother was going to bed, her father stops her and offers her a glass of Coke. Of course she says yes, without wondering why an adult would offer a notorious bedwetter a drink at bedtime. The next morning, my mother wakes up to her 22-year-old sister, shaking her and screaming for her to wake up. My mom woke up but said she felt dizzy and sick. She didn't quite understand why her sister was there and why she was screaming. Apparently, the night before, about an hour after my mother went to bed, my grandmother gave herself a fatal overdose of insulin. She only kept the insulin in case of emergency for my uncle. My aunt saw the body and said she had bruises, and the injection spot had multiple pricks. This was back in the 70s, and after telling the police his wife was a heavy drinker and suicidal, they dropped the case. After my grandmother's death, my grandfather literally just packed up and left. Without his 11-year-old daughter, my mom ended up growing up in group homes and has some terrible stories from her youth. She actually ended up turning into an alcoholic to reclaim her youth, and that killed her 2 years ago on her 46th birthday. Nobody in my family has spoken to him since the 70s. He may have approached my mother in the 90s, but he took off after making a racial slur about her biracial children. Even if he was around, he would not be in my life. Ghost story time. The first one was right after my grandmother died, in the same house. My aunt moved in after my grandfather left to try to take care of my mother. It didn't work out, but that's beside the point. Anyway, my mom gets home from school one day and my aunt is sitting on the driveway, pale and shaking. My mom asked what was wrong and she said she refused to go in. She said she heard something weird in their mother's room. They didn't really go in there out of habit, except to occasionally clean. So my mother approached the door, wondering why her sister was being an idiot. As soon as she touched the doorknob, the entire door shook like someone slammed into it. This was accompanied by an almost comical roar. My mom immediately opened the door because she didn't believe it was anything but an idiot dog. Not a thing in the room, and nothing was out of place. My mom said she was more curious to its origins than scared. Same house, same time frame. My mother was in her own bedroom, doing whatever by the window. She happens to glance out her window at her mother's. Their windows faced each other over the backyard patio. She just sees the heavy velvet drapes in the room swishing back and forth really hard, like someone was swinging them. She ran to her mother's room, and the curtains weren't even fluttering. After my mother moved out of the house into a group home, the house was sold to a newlywed couple. A few months after they moved in, the dude went nuts and chopped his wife into multiple pieces. He then dumped those pieces in the mountains and tried to pretend she never existed. My family likes to use this as proof that something evil was in the house. Story 2. This happened to my mom when she was a teenager. My mom now is in her mid-60s. She's not an overly religious woman. She doesn't read the Bible regularly, rarely goes to church, but she prays every night because that is what gives her comfort. I'll have to side note this with I watched normal horror movies with her every so often. Nothing too crazy or gory, but spooky, if you will, sort of stuff. Well, I asked her if she wanted to watch The Exorcist and she flat out 100% refused. She said there is absolutely no way she will ever watch anything related to possession or exorcisms. Well, I was curious. So when the movie Constantine came out and I showed her the trailer asking her if she wants to watch it, she sees the girl near the beginning climbing the ceiling and just refuses again. I should also note, my mother will refuse and kick you out of her house if you even think about bringing a Ouija board into the house. She'll yell, scream, and cuss until you drop the subject, and that's that. This is important. Alright, so that little backstory is out of the way. I ended up asking her why exactly she refuses to watch those sort of movies. Well, she tells me when she was a teenager, at a sleepover at a friend's house, they were up playing games, the parents watching TV. Her friends and herself are on the floor playing a board game, a game my mom has never played before. Well, come to find out it's a Ouija board and she doesn't know what it does. Well, they start playing, asking a bunch of questions. They end up finding out there is a spirit in the house, so they ask it to show itself. Nothing happens, they demoned it to show itself. This was her first indication something wasn't right. 'Cause the lights all around the house, every single room went out immediately, including the TV, and then snapped right back on. Spooky, huh? Nah, just a fluke. They ask the next question, who are you? The piece moves round the board in big circles with their hands on it and stops at the letter D. Moves to the letter E, then to the letter VI. Wow, someone must be messing with it. This can't be real, so they ask, if you are the devil, then show yourself. Nothing happens for a while, and then suddenly the TV goes out. Well, in the reflection of the TV sitting in the living room next to them, my mom and her friends, even her parents could make out the shape of something. Something terrifying just sitting there, next to them. The house got extremely cold. Suddenly, loud noises could be heard in the kitchen, stuff flying off the top of the refrigerator and cupboards opening and closing. They immediately stop the game, close it up and throw it in the trash, never to play it again. Later that night, my mom is sound asleep and is awoken by something loud and clanging on the roof. She listens intently and she can hear what sounds like chains and dogs up on the roof. Well, that's not possible. It must be outside somewhere. She wakes up the next morning and goes and talks to her friend's parents, asked them if any of their neighbors have any dogs. They told her no, and they told her they also heard the dogs and chains up on the roof last night. So that's the story of why my mom refuses to watch anything that involves exorcisms. She truly believes that the devil was there with them that night, sitting next to them. And the messed up thing is, every time she tells me that story, I get this cold shiver down my spine that there is no way she would be making this up. About 15 years ago, I was working at the smallish company. They had about 75 employees, and the new owners came in, ended up selling it, and the new owners came in and cleaned house. They fired about 15 people. A guy that I worked with was one of them. Dave was shocked that he was fired. Most people didn't get along with Dave because he was odd. He had a short temper and sometimes yelled at people, and he had some personal grooming problems like bad dandruff and body odor. So many people were glad to see him go, and it was no shock to many of us that he was fired. About a week after the mass firing, I was at work and got a phone call from Dave. He told me that he wants to take me out to lunch as a way of saying thanks for my recently teaching him how to run a few different machines. That knowledge will help him get a new job. I agreed to go, and a few days later he showed up at lunchtime. I had assumed he was taking several people from there out, but it turned out to be just me. At lunch, things started off fine, then got strange. He was upset about being fired and was angry. I let him vent and sympathized with him. He had been there several years and felt betrayed. As lunch starts to wind down, he told me that I was one of the few people he liked there, and that there were people there that he would love to hurt. It was a little strange, but I just thought he was still venting. We got in his car to drive back. Then he started telling me how easy it would be to lock the doors from the outside with boards and burn the place down or to do damage to it. As we pull into the parking lot, he told me not to worry, that even if he could hurt some of these people, I was his friend. The way he said it really gave me the chills. I said goodbye, got out of the car, and went inside. Logs and Lankwas. There was a window near my boss's desk that looks out to the parking lot. I could see Dave's car from there. He wasn't leaving, he was just sitting in his car. Lunch ends and everyone goes back to work, and Dave was just sitting there. I told my boss we needed to call 911. Dave said some strange things. I think he might try to hurt someone. My boss then called 911, and the police got there within a few minutes. They spoke to Dave, got him out of his car, and then put him in the back seat of the police car. They then used his keys to open his trunk. In the trunk they found a few boards, some rope, and a few guns. They talked more to Dave, and he agreed to be taken into custody and to get some help. I don't know if he would have done anything, but the way the building is designed, had he decided to, he could have shot a lot of people in a very short period of time. I was so freaked out I couldn't work the rest of the day. So my grandparents, for some reason, had a way of always moving into haunted houses. The houses weren't really creepy, but they would always have weird and paranormal stuff happen. Let me know in the comment if you want more true unsettling stories. It was summer vacation, and I was around 13-14 years old. At this age, I always would stay up late, eating junk food and playing video games. Because of this, I could hear the vibration of anybody walking down the hallway. I was at the end of the hallway across from my grandparents, so if I heard someone walking, it would usually be my grandpa getting some Tums. It was a recognizable pattern, the sound of feet hitting carpet as it makes its way down the hall to the Tums and then back to the bedroom. It would be finished off with hearing my grandpa close his bedroom door. Then I started to notice something. Randomly throughout the night, I would hear these footsteps. If it was any later than 1, I would open the door, and nobody would be in the hallway. Staying rational, I assumed my grandpa just got inside his bedroom before I saw him. So when hearing the footsteps, I would wait till they were at the other end, then open the door. Nothing, dark as the night could be. I got used to the sounds. Since they weren't super loud or anything, it's just footsteps on a carpet, that I'm thinking I'm just hearing things half the time. One night I was laying in bed and just watching TV. The head of my bed shared the same wall as my bedroom door. One night I heard the footsteps, whatever, they make their way down the hall. Then they come towards my end. Cool, I'm used to this and I usually just ignore it now. Could be my grandpa, could be the ghost. But then the footsteps stop and my doorknob makes a crazy clacking sound, as if someone is rapidly turning the doorknob without actually opening it. I jump out of bed, run to my door, and try to catch whatever it is. Nothing. Dark as night, quiet as can be. I open my grandparents' door slowly and I'm greeted with snoring.